up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about toxic places to work at. Toxic places I've worked at and toxic management and how I learned from it. Anyway, so I want you to picture this. You're brand new to a new job, things are going well, and then your manager got sick and you had to get a new one. And life was good environment, things was great, and new manager comes in, micromanage, send you a text every day, anytime, even if you're at work, you're not at work, you're expected to answer. You had your personal property taken away from you, example as my phone. Since some of the girls were on the phones, they decided to come up with taking everybody's phones, so I was not allowed to have my property. And the saddest part out of that is that I had to tell my husband if there was an emergency that he needed to call where I was working at, because there's no way he could get in contact with me through my personal phones. And it just like they will have meetings and talking bad about us and how we're doing terrible and how they would never stand up for us. It was always like bad. You're never doing anything good enough, right? And at one point, this beautiful place, this healthy place, turned to so toxic, and it was like messing with my mind, messing with who I was and stuff. And I remember a point I would cry before I go to work, because I already knew what's waiting for me at work. And I reached a point that the night before I go to work, like Sunday night, I would have TMI, major diarrhea and anxiety. I couldn't sleep all night because I just knew the next day what's gonna wait for me and what's gonna be at work for me. And it's sad to feel this way. There was just toxicity, management, micromanagement, managers talking to coworkers about other coworkers, and it was just a mess. And I get it, like, we're all women, and when you work with women, it's a lot of drama, but there's a lot of stuff that was unnecessary. Our manager, HR, was not managing correctly, and I feel like it was really bad. And at one point, it got between me and my husband. I remember I would come home angry. I would be so furious because we would work early, like around like 6:45 or 5:45 a.m. and we won't leave until like super late, like 7 o'clock at night. And I think working at that job, the latest I've gotten home was 8:30, 9 o'clock, because I had to stay to get so much stuff done. And I think in a job where the employees' lives and feelings doesn't matter, I feel like that's toxic. And when you do bring it up to management, they deny, they do not acknowledge, and instead they tell you like, oh, it's just a job. And I feel like that was it for me. And a point I was like, I can't stay there. Emotionally, I was like falling apart. I was falling apart. Physically, I was falling apart. And thankfully, there were a couple girls at that job that I felt comfortable and confined in, that I could talk about the situation, because I was like, there's no way. Like, I am struggling. And I grew up in a certain way, or in a household that like you always go extra mile for your job. Either if you get a raise or not, if there's a job that needs to be done, and do it. And a lot of time I feel like I got burned because a lot of people knew that I'm gonna do their job and they don't do it, and then I pay for it. There's the responsibility, the checklist that we have was humongous. When we got hired, we were told the hours were 8 to 5, but there will be time where we're still at office 7 o'clock at night, because due to the doctor's choice, by adding a patient at last minute, there were times that we didn't get no lunch because at last minute he decided to add a patient in. And so with those girls that I find like really close to, we were able to talk, and we came to figure it out that the place was just toxic. Like all the things that we were going through, it was toxic. I have a friend of mine that through that job, she had 3 miscarriages due to stress and anxiety. And I have a friend at that job that had a lot of health issues due to stress, the amount of stress that they put us. And even my own personal life, like my husband and I, we've been trying to create a family, and I think we haven't been successful because due to the amount of stress that I've been getting at that job. And you're probably wondering, why don't you quit that job? I want to so bad. But with this inflation, I kind of want to have another job ready to quit. And that was like my mindset. But it's just like you could never recover from a toxic job truly until you quit and move on. And I feel like even if you move on to a new job, you're always gonna have that scare, that you're always gonna have that fear that the same thing's gonna happen. And anyways, it's just like toxic places do really mess with you emotionally and physically. I will never ever be the same person that I was. I used to be a go-getter, work hard, like even if I was praised or if I was getting paid for it. Now after been working for that place for more than a year, I just want to come and do my job and leave. Like, I know they try to get coworkers to meet after work, and I'm like, dude, if I'm at work, I'm not being respected, I'm not being treated correctly, and I'm getting paid for it, and I still don't want to hang out with you, and you think I'm gonna do that if I'm not getting paid? No, thank you. Anyways, it's hard working at toxic places. It just messes you up. It's just the anxiety. Like, I've never had anxiety before until I got that job. It just eats you away. I feel like slowly the job is eating you from the inside, and then eventually it will surface. So if any of you are working a toxic job, I know all of us want the answer to be to quit. And it is true, it is good to quit. But at the same time, like, you can learn there are things that you could do to help you in the meantime until you can find a new job. Like, number 1, differentiate when you're at home versus you're at work. I used to take work home a lot, and I stopped doing that. I just said, okay, the minute I clocked in, I worry about work stuff. And it took me years. It's been like 5 years since I've been trying to do that. So once you're at work, you clocked in, you worry about work stuff. Once you clocked out, everything else stays in the same place at the time that you clocked out. And eventually doing that every day, and slowly by slowly you will work that. And also the second thing for me is just like getting overwhelmed and stressed about the amount of the job that I have to do, because they give us this long list of things that needs to be done by the end of the day. And if you don't do it, you get in trouble, and it messes with your paycheck. So I think, like, for me, just learning to like do the best I can. I have this list. I'm gonna go down this list. I'm gonna do everything I can. At the end of the day, I did everything I can. I'm not gonna stress out about it. And number 3, pray. If you're religious, pray to God to help you calm your heart, because until you're in that job and you're worrying about everything, it's gonna mess you up. Even if you try, no matter what, it's still gonna mess you up. So having God on your side to help you would be great. And then finally, just quit. When you have a good job, things are working out, and you feel that's what God needs to do, then quit. And use that experience as a lesson to your next job. That the first time you start noting some red flags, just like in a relationship, when you start noting red flags, it's the same thing in a job. Put a step on it. The minute you see something's not right, step on it. Don't wait and be like, oh, makes excuses, because how you let your employer treat you, that's how they're gonna treat you forever. Doesn't matter. New boss, new whatever, they're still gonna treat you the same. So that is my 2 cents for you today on toxic jobs. I am still learning to figure it out as well, but If you have any questions, anything, please leave them down below. And until next time, talk to you later.